World events in 1795. America. Many important events happened in the United States in 1795. In January 14th, the University of North Carolina opens to students, becoming the first state university in the United States. In May 1st, Kamehameha I defeats the Owawas in the Battle of Muizenberg, establishing the Kingdom of Hawaii. In August 2nd, the Treaty of Greenville is signed with the Western Confederacy, ending the Northwest Indian War. In September 5th, the U.S. signs a treaty with Algiers to prevent piracy against American ships. The treaty was signed by Joseph Donaldson, an American negotiator, and the Day of Algiers. In October 27th, the United States and Spain signed the Treaty of San Lorenzo, also known as Pinckney's Treaty. Events in Britain in 1795. Famine. Bad harvests and a wartime economy led to a famine in England. Bread prices soared and riots broke out. Political restrictions. The government passed the Seditious Meetings Act, which banned meetings of more than 50 people without a magistrate's permission. The government also suspended habeas corpus, which protected the right not to be imprisoned without a charge. Evacuation from Bremen. The British Army was forced to evacuate Bremen after being unsuccessful in the Flanders Campaign. Marriage of Prince George. Prince George of Wales married Caroline of Brunswick at St. James's Palace. Warren Hastings acquitted. The House of Lords acquitted Warren Hastings, the former Governor-General of India, of misconduct. Hair powder tax. The Duty on Hair Powder Act of 1795 came into effect, helping to end the fashion for powdered hair. The Duty on Hair Powder Act came into force on May 5th of that year. From that date, wig-wearers who wished to powder their tresses had to go to the stamp office, fill in a form with their name, and apply for an annual certificate at a cost of 1 guinea, 21 shillings, the equivalent of perhaps 80 pounds. France events. In February 9th, France signed a peace treaty with Tuscany. In February 17th, the Convention of La Jaunaye granted amnesty to Vade guerrilla leaders. A peace treaty with Tuscany was signed on February 9, 1795. This was followed by the Convention of La Jaunaye, February 17th, whereby an amnesty was accorded to the guerrilla leaders of the Vade. In April 5th to 6th, France and Prussia signed the Peace of Basel Riots. The Peace of Basel was a treaty signed in 1795 between France and Prussia that ended Prussia's involvement in the War of the First Coalition. The treaty was made up of 3 treaties, including the one between France and Prussia on April 5, 1795. The treaty recognized France's acquisition of the Rhineland and made the Rhine France's eastern border. In April, bread riots broke out in Paris in 1795 due to food shortages and high bread prices. In August 22nd, the Constitution of 1795 was passed, establishing a new government. In June 8th, the Dauphin, Louis XVII, died. In 1795, just as the revolutionaries were considering using him as a bargaining chip with the Austrian army along with his sister Madame Royale, Louis XVII died of tuberculosis. His heart, preserved by coroner Philippe Jean Pelletan, was transferred to the royal crypt at St. Denis in 1975. Events of Spain. In 1795, Spain and the United States signed the Treaty of San Lorenzo, also known as Pinckney's Treaty. This treaty established the border between the two countries and provided navigation rights for the United States on the Mississippi River. Africa. Key points about the 1795 events. British takeover. British forces seized the Cape Colony from the Dutch in the Battle of Muizenberg. The British occupation was primarily motivated by their need to control the sea route to the east during the Napoleonic Wars. Brazil. In 1795, a significant event in Brazilian history was the Alvará of May 3rd, which addressed land disputes by rewording the principles of the law of good reason, and aimed to regulate land concessions and the organization of colonial territory in Brazil, attempting to resolve irregularities in the Cismaria system of land grants. The Cismaria was the principal form of land distribution implemented by Portuguese colonizers, although purchase and inheritance were also legitimate forms of land acquisition. This was a key moment in managing land ownership and distribution within the colony. Slave trade. During this period, Brazil continued to be heavily involved in the slave trade, with African kingdoms like Dahomey even sending embassies to establish diplomatic ties with Brazilian authorities to facilitate slave purchases. Brazil remained a Portuguese colony under strict control from Lisbon, with the local administration focused on managing resource extraction like gold mining. Events in 1795 in Australia. Battle of Richmond Hill. The first recorded battle between the British and Aboriginal people defending their country. The battle took place in May or June between the Darug people and the New South Wales Corps. HMS Reliance arrives in Sydney. The ship carried Bennelong, an Aboriginal man returning from England, as well as surgeon and explorer George Bass and midshipman Matthew Flinders. Floods at Hawkesbury. Floods devastated farms in Hawkesbury on September 11th. Tornado in Sydney. A tornado struck Sydney, destroying crops and trees in the early settlement. It was the first tornado recorded in the BOM Severe Weather Archives. Germany. In 1795, the Rhine Campaign took place, where two Habsburg armies prevented two French armies from crossing the Rhine River. The Rhine Campaign took place from April 1795 to January 1796. The campaign was led by François Sebastian Charles Joseph de Croix, Count of Clerfayt. The two Habsburg armies stopped the French armies from crossing the Rhine and capturing the fortress of Mainz. Russia. In 1795, Russia gained most of Ukraine and a large portion of Poland through the Third Partition of Poland. This event marked the end of Poland as an independent state. What happened in 1795? Russia, Prussia, and Austria partitioned Poland, dividing up its remaining land. Russia gained most of Ukraine, including the majority of the land west of the Dnieper River. Russia also gained Lithuania, Belarus, and parts of Poland that became modern-day Western Ukraine. Russia established the Pale of Settlement, which restricted most Jews to living in western parts of the empire. In 1795, the following events occurred in India. The Marathas defeated the Nizam of Hyderabad at the Battle of Kharda. Travancore came under British protection. Travancore came under British protection in 1795 through a treaty that established a subsidiary alliance with the East India Company, essentially placing the kingdom under British dominance while guaranteeing protection from external threats. What do you think of these events? Was your country mentioned in this list? Let us know. Thank you for watching.